The battlefield of Sector 7 wasn't just a kill zone, it was an open-air asylum. We were fighting the psionic hegemony, but the grunts called them the memory miners. They were frail, slender, four-armed creatures that couldn't lift a human rifle, let alone fire one. They didn't need to. They fought with psi emitters, staffs that acted as long-range neural scanners. They didn't shoot plasma, they shot trauma. When a standard Marine battalion engaged the miners, the air would suddenly fill with ghosts. The miners would scan the amygdala and hippocampus of every soldier, pull out their deepest, most primal fears, and project them as solid light holograms onto the battlefield. You'd be in a trench, aiming your rifle, and suddenly your dead mother would crawl out of the mud, screaming that it was your fault. A veteran terrified of spiders would find himself surrounded by arachnids the size of tanks. A soldier who survived a fire as a child would suddenly be engulfed in phantom flames that felt unbearably real. The casualty rates were 100%, not from physical wounds but from sheer psychic terror. Entire squads were found catatonic, drooling, their minds shattered by their own nightmares weaponized against them. You can't train a soldier to shoot their own worst memory. The Federation realized that bravery was useless against an enemy that hacked bravery itself. We didn't need better soldiers. We needed empty vessels. We needed the 88th Neural Nullification Battalion. The Lobotomy Units. The Hollows. We are volunteers. Before deployment, we hook into the gray box. It administers a cocktail of proprietary neuroinhibitors and localized electrical dampeners that temporarily sever the connections between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. It doesn't make us stupid. It makes us nothing. Fear, love, hate, nostalgia, hesitation. It all goes gray. We retain tactical knowledge, muscle memory, and the ability to follow orders, but we lose the ability to feel the consequences. We become biological killbots inside our own skin. I am Major Jax, commander of Echo Squad. And right now I feel absolutely nothing. We dropped into Sector 7 via armored pods. The moment the hatches blew, the psychic noise hit us. It wasn't sound, it was a pressure behind the eyes, a desperate clawing at the mind. Status, I said. My voice sounded flat in my own ears. No inflection. No urgency. Just data. Unit 2, gray. Neural blockers at 98% efficiency. Unit 3, gray. Target acquisition active. No emotional variance detected. We moved out. Our armor was heavy, featureless, designed to offer no visual stimulation. Our weapons were crude, loud kinetic repeaters, heavy bolters and automatic shotguns. We walked into the nightmare. The remnants of the previous Marine unit were scattered around the ruins. They were screaming, firing wildly at the air, huddled in fetal positions. One Marine was sobbing, begging an invisible assailant to stop. A memory miner stood over him, its four arms raised, its psi emitter glowing with a sickly violet light, feeding on his terror. The miner saw us. It turned its emitters toward Echo Squad. I felt the probe hit my mind. It was like a damp hand rifling through an empty filing cabinet. The alien was desperately looking for a hook, a childhood trauma, a lost love, a phobia. It found only gray static. It found muscle memory and target acquisition protocols. The air in front of me shimmered. The miner tried to project something. A vague, flickering image of a giant wolf appeared for a microsecond, then dissolved into meaningless fuzz. The projection failed because there was no fear to fuel it. The miner let out a psychic shriek of confusion. It had never encountered prey that didn't dream. I didn't hesitate. I didn't feel satisfaction. I just raised my heavy bolter. The targeting reticle on my HUD turned red over the alien's chest. Thud thud thud. The high-caliber rounds tore through the miner's frail energy shielding and decimated its torso. It collapsed into a heap of violet ichor and twitching limbs. The Marine on the ground stopped screaming, looking up at us with wide, terrified eyes, seeing only silent, gray-armored giants. Target neutralized. Advance to primary objective, the Neurospire, I stated. The memory miners had erected a massive, throbbing psychic amplifier in the center of the city square, a fleshy, crystalline tower that was boosting their range across the entire continent. We pushed toward the square. The resistance intensified. The miners, realizing their psychic tricks were useless, tried to overwhelm us with thralls. Humans whose minds had been completely burned out, turned into mindless, berserk puppets. A wave of hundreds of screaming, unarmed thralls charged down the street toward us. A normal soldier would hesitate to mow down civilians. We didn't. Engagement protocol, lethal. Clear the path, I ordered. We formed a firing line. Our heavy bolters opened up, a rhythmic, deafening roar that echoed off the ruined buildings. We were efficient. We conserved ammo. We aimed for center mass. The wave of thralls broke against our wall of kinetic lead like water on rock. We walked over the bodies without looking down. We reached the square. The neurospire loomed over us, pulsing with waves of psychic energy that would have driven a normal man insane instantly. The air around it was thick with the most potent illusions. The ground seemed to turn into a pit of vipers. The sky rained blood. Ghostly titans strode between the buildings. We walked straight through them. I stepped on a viper and my boot hit solid pavement. A titan swung a spectral sword at me, and it passed harmlessly through my armor. Guarding the base of the spire was a hyperjector, an elite miner, taller, with 6 arms and a crown of glowing psychic crystals. It was focusing its entire power on us. It tried to brute force past our blockers. I felt a sharp spike of pain behind my eyes as the neuroinhibitors fought the intrusion. For a split second, a flash of a memory, a burning house, a child crying, tried to surface. No, my conditioned mind responded. That is irrelevant data. The gray box adjusted, pumping a higher dose of inhibitors into my system. The memory vanished back into the fog. The hyperjector shrieked in frustration. It was helpless against our emptiness. Unit 2, Unit 3. Suppressing fire on the projector. I will deploy the seismic charge. While my squad laid down a withering hail of bolter fire that forced the projector behind its shimmering shields, I advanced to the base of the fleshy spire. It was warm to the touch, vibrating with alien life. I pulled a heavy seismic breaching charge from my pack. I armed it. 45-second timer. I clamped it onto the pulsating membrane of the spire. Charge set. Fall back to minimum safe distance. We retreated, walking backward, keeping our guns trained on the projector. It screamed again, trying one last time to break us. The illusions reached a fever pitch. The entire world seemed to be dissolving into chaos around us. We didn't blink. We just counted down the seconds. 3, 2, 1. The explosion was muted by our helmet dampeners, but the shockwave knocked us to our knees. The seismic charge didn't just blow up the spire, it shattered its crystalline structure. The massive tower groaned, a sound that was felt psychically more than heard, and then collapsed into a heap of steaming alien flesh and shattered crystal. Instantaneously, the illusions across the entire city vanished. The vipers, the blood rain, the titans, gone. The psychic pressure lifted. The hyperjector, its connection to the amplifier severed, collapsed, its nervous system fried by the feedback. Silence fell over Sector 7. We stood up, dusting off our armor. The mission was complete. The neurospire was destroyed. The sector was clear. Status, I said. Unit 2, green. Ammunition at 40%. Unit 3, green. Gray state holding steady. We stood amidst the carnage we had created, the dead miners, the piles of thralls, the ruined spire. A normal human would be vomiting with horror, overcome with grief or PTSD. We just stood there, waiting for the extraction dropship, waiting for the neuroblockers to wear off. I knew that in about 4 hours, when the drugs faded and the humanity rushed back in, the horror of what we had done today would hit me like a freight train. The memories would return, compounded by the new nightmares we had just manufactured. I would scream then. I would cry. But right now, I was just a very efficient weapon. And the enemy was dead. Humanity had proven the ultimate truth of the Extinction War. If you fight an enemy that feeds on your humanity, the only way to win is to leave your humanity at the door. The memory miners wanted our fears. We gave them nothing but lead and silence. Sector 7 is secure. The nightmares are gone. We are the hollows and we do what the haunted cannot.